Hello, and a very good morning. We're still at Sebring here after a week of intense races. We've done 3 races here, one of them going fairly well, and we'll be making the cut for a video. Yeah, and that was all fun. So we are departing onto our next stop, which is Texas Motor Speedway in Fort Worth near Dallas. Shut the hell up. It's early in the morning. Okay, pushing back here. That's probably enough. If anything goes wrong, we'll try to come back here. Anything below 1,000 feet, we will try and put it on the ground. There's a good amount of fields around here. There's also a bunch of airports north of us in case we cannot return. So we got some good options here. Sebring traffic, Citation, India 3, Romeo Foxtrot, runway 1. Departure to the north, Sebring. Not too many people around at this point. We're doing this just to stay current and demonstrate how it should be done. Although I'm not making the claim of doing this correctly all the time. It looks like our wind has slightly changed to a tailwind, and that's almost 5 knots here, so I'm not sure what the hell the meter was talking about. Alright, we are ready to go. Rotation speed at 101. Takeoff power set. 2 good engines. Airspeed alive both sides. Hug on the central line. Here's 80 knots. Here's 100. Rotate. Positive climb gear up. V2 plus 20 flaps up. Climb detent. Yaw damper. Alright. Okay, runway heading for a few moments and then we'll initiate our left turn. We'll just do the after takeoff checklist. Landing gears up, flaps are up, throttles to climb, yaw damper is enabled, autopilot as required, ice protection system not required. Landing lights are staying on until 10,000 feet, pressurization is coming up, altimeters are fine. Here comes our left turn. After takeoff checklist is complete. Nice 20 degree turn here, looking over the beautiful Floridian landscape. And looking back at the raceway, which looks very pretty in the morning sun. Very pretty indeed. Very good climb performance as it stands, and we'll roll out here at roughly 240. Still hand flying. Pretty. Heading mode enabled, flight level change enabled. Autopilota. Climb checklist, throttles are on climb. Pressurization is good. Ice protection system, it's Florida, man. Really don't need it. The climb checklist is complete. Nav mode is armed, so as soon as we're close to the purple line here and about to cross it, you will see the airplane intercepting and then turning to the right. Since there's no one around, we're clearing us to the cruise altitude of flight level 440. Looking up to our right is Orlando. That is it. We're on our way. To our left, Coral Bay and Syracuse right underneath us. That's the last we'll see of Florida for a bit. After that, it's going to be the great open waters of the Gulf of Mexico, and there's probably not going to be a whole lot to discuss. How is that?
Local time casting, check.
This is Citation to your right. We got you inside.
Copy. Citation number 642 Juliet Whiskey. Have you in sight?
We're going to level off here for a second.
Altitude.
Nice. I think we're clear. Flight level change. Climb at 064.
Check.
This guy looking for a mic check. This guy looks like it's another Citation.
Alright, and we're back on the flight deck just at the right time. We reached 44,000 feet and we're reaching the cruise speed we like to have. So, time to reduce our fuel flow to roughly 240. We do have a little bit of a headwind. We have 70 knots on the nose here, which means we're going to burn a bit more fuel to try and stay close to the red tape. You obviously don't want to get too fast and go over the red tape. Structural integrity, not good. As they say, if you're not clacking, you're slacking. Since we got a little time, and this is the boring part, we can talk a little Indycar. So, Sebring was our first stop of the calendar. There's a good few things to be said about the state of the current Indycar series, most notably the actual car, so the IR18 on the service. Last year there was quite a big improvement on the tire model. Before that, the Indycar was kind of renowned for being very grippy until you reach the limits of the grip, and then you would just fly off the road, the traditional iRacing ice feeling. Now, with the pandemic and everything, and Indycar actually holding off races on the service with real Indycar drivers, there has been quite a lot of feedback, some of it quite damning, Joseph Newgarden comes to mind, saying this is not at all the tire we drive in real life. It's not accurate, because the real Firestone tires in the series you can actually slide and lean on and power drive out of a corner, and it would not only work, but it would also be quicker than staying in the ranges of the grip. And as a result, iRacing actually did go away and changed it. And the tire model right now is excellent. It's one of the best cars to drive on the surface. So specifically on the rather bumpy surface in Sebring, you might have seen, if you watched the race, that there's a whole bunch of sideways into corners, especially over at Tower. Then this is the last race in the series where you can freely choose your compound, and that's gonna be a big change from a strategy perspective. For example, my setup in Sebring was kind of geared towards the primary tires, so the harder compound, and the harder compound likes a stiffer suspension. It's quite a bit faster if you stiffen up the car, and that is my preferred way of driving. I don't like these super squishy, soft setups, which are very fast on the red tires, but I just can't extract the maximum out of these. So my preference, especially in hot weather, is always black tires and go as far as you can on them. Now, because I wanted to be in the black tires, I did qualify in the black tires, and that put me 18th of 24 cars. It put me very, very deep into the field, and while I had good speed, I think I got pretty much stuck all race long behind one Japanese driver or another. And I thought I would be able to make up more time during the pit stops at the end of the stint as well, where the reds would start to fade, but that kind of didn't happen. So the positive note is obviously I moved forward from 18th to 7th, which is a good enough finish for that strength of field. But had I qualified on the reds and then took the primaries for the remaining two stints, I probably would have been able to stay in the top 10 most through the race. Probably there would have been an option to eke out 1 or 2 additional positions here, so top 5 would have been possible just purely on speed. And because I lost a whole bunch of time behind people coming through the field, that didn't materialize. One big issue that I had was the gearing on the car. So down the long straight before sunset and on the front stretch, I was lacking some top-end speed, which means I could have made some more overtakes had I modified my gearing. And as a consequence, I burned up some push-to-passes there, and did ultimately not make the pass. So then, second stint, I must have gotten some damage very early on. There was a situation where I was stuck behind a group, and the guy in front of me ran over the pylons, and I think I hit 1 or 2 of them as well. And after that, I think my downforce was limited on the front end a little bit, and I didn't notice because I was still kind of hanging on, but I was losing ground to the group ahead of me, which is roughly top 10. And then in the second pit stop, I noticed that there was 5 seconds repair, and after that I had a bit more speed actually. So last stint was pretty good. I was able to hang on with the people on reds, and then I just got lucky that the last 5 laps where usually mayhem ensued, and the guy in front of me took 1 more driver out, so 2 Japanese drivers in front of me kind of tangled, and then in the last corner of the race, that same guy lost it on the bumps and hit my side pod, and I got lucky to not have been taken out there as well. We're gonna have to wait a few races in. I think the first 3 or 4 races are going to be representative to see who's got, a good season here, because this was a road course now with Sebring, kind of a street course feeling just from the surface, and next one is going to be a oval, a 1.5 mile cookie cutter, which I'm not too bad at, but obviously no idea who's going to be prevailing there. And the next stop is going to be Long Beach, which is definitely a street course, and usually I'm quite okay at street courses, I think. Barber would be the last stop to try and get a 360 view on who in the series are my direct competitors. Barber has always been one of my favorite tracks, with the fast sweeping corners. If we can get into the top 5 there, then I think we'll have a chance to stay in the top 5 in the actual standings. So we're talking close to the 200 points range. Generally happy with the first race, like the car, and the racing itself is good. It's relatively clean. It's definitely very competitive. And I'm looking forward to Texas, which has its own perks, really. Driving ovals, there's the obvious 200 to 300 millisecond ping issue that I have to contend with. So that's the recap of the first race. We're going to try and do this in cruise between stops. Go back and analyze the race a little bit, have a look at the championship, and take stock, essentially. Our destination is just under 2 hours away. So at this point, we're gonna enjoy cruise, switch on the radio, and switch off the cameras for a little bit, and I'll check in with you closer to New Orleans. Welcome back. We made it to New Orleans. Underneath, you can see very prominently the Mississippi Delta and New Orleans. This is really quite a sight. Alright, let's take a little stock about where we are. So we're just off the coast of Louisiana. You can already see our top of descent, which is going to be probably 30 minutes from now. We got another hour or so until touchdown. So that means it's time to have a bit of a look at the destination. Variable winds at 5 knots. 10 statute miles visibility, scattered at 1100, broken at 2500, and a balmy 21 degrees. Another glance at the Mississippi Delta, which, I mean, blimey, it's just massive. Right, so before we brief the approach, we are going to request the weather one more time to see if anything changed. So we still have variable at 5, no specific direction, and very comfortable ceilings here, so minima will not come into play. So this is where we are now here at New Orleans. If we have a look into the standard arrival routes into Fort Worth, Texas, then you can see this is kind of a mess here. Looks a little bit like a fungus. We're going to be on the Doji 6 arrival, which we've already added to our route. That one too is a bit of a mess. So we're essentially coming in from Alexandria here, which is a VOR, and we're going to descend to flight level 180 into Noble and Frankston, remaining on the same flight level here. There's no speed restrictions at the moment. After Frankston, we're going to descend to 5,000 feet into Cedar Creek, which is a VOR, and then onto the final stretches of the approach, also at 5,000 feet, so that Cedar Creek to Cabby to Adams, joining up here with the ILS runway 34 approach. Starts at UCOL at 3,000 feet. There's a step down to 2,400. That's our final approach fix. 346 degrees, and our minima are 881 feet here. You can sidestep the landing here. There's 2 runways. In order to do that, minimal decision altitude is 1,240 feet. Yeah, so standard glide slope 3 degrees. We're usually coming in at more or less high speed, 160 knots, which is almost 1,000 feet per minute. Missed approach procedure is climb straight ahead, 1,200 feet, turn left to 3,000 feet, direct Oblon, hold at Oblon, and cycle back for another landing. So we're going to be on the 34 left or right. I think we can decide. Since we want to go to the FBO here, we're going to be on the 34 right. That does sadly not allow us to see the speedway, which is more or less up here. But we'll get a chance to do that. Maybe rent a tiny plane and fly around Dallas a little bit. That might be an option. So ILS 34 right, selected Doji 6, Alexandria transition, execute. There we go. What a mess. Alright, 30 minutes to the start of our arrival route. Plenty of time. Okay, so we change autopilot to be flight level 180. There we go. Right, so there's a little bit of time until we have to initiate our descent. I'll talk to you then. Right, welcome back to the flight deck. We're at 18,000 feet and we get a check speed message for some reason. Our speed is fine. We are below 250 and we're not below 10,000 feet, so I don't know what that is all about. We got 20 minutes to go in our approach into Fort Worth. We're pretty close now to Dallas, which is ahead of us to our right. We are on the Doji 6 arrival. We just passed Frankston and we can descend to 5,000 feet at this point. 5,000 feetsies. There we go. Flight level change. And we reduce the fuel flow further. too fast. Reducing speed. We do try to make the best of our time, that's for sure. Farms, 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 oil wells. Alright, so I'm switching the altitude to 3,600 according to the approach plate. We're taking a few turns here. And toggle approach. Obviously we would not necessarily need the autopilot for all this. We could all fly this manually, but hey, why not? Always stay current with the operation of your aircraft. Time to slow it down to maybe 200 knots or so. Time to reserve 1 hour and 30 minutes. Plenty of fuel, plenty of alternative airports here. And we're coming up on Yukon in a very short while. I think we've got Fort Worth here on our left. Airport is in sight. Okay, 200 means gear down. Selected. And indicating 3 green, no red. And flaps 15. That completes our approach checklist. Landing checklist. Landing gear is down 3 green. Flaps 35 is coming later. Speed brakes are off already. Airspeed VREF. That's what's happening next. It's a bit early. Add a little more speed at this point. Waiting here for the purple and the blue diamond to come down. Still a bit high on the glide slope. Right, so the speedway is just to the north end of the airport, straight ahead of us. We can't see it well from here, but it's one of these light patches on the ground. Down we go.
Autopilot.
Check this thing in manually. Flaps 35, speeds checked. Crosswind, 9 knots from the east. the mark. Feet. Above our VREF, we got 5 knots variable, so we keep the speed up a little bit, especially if it's gusty. That's required. Got so much space here, don't really have to hurry with our touchdown.
Minimums.
Continue. Right. Welcome to the land of humongous runways.
Altitude.
Spoilers. Right, welcome to Fort Worth. So, manual braking. Yeah. Why? Alright. That wasn't super kosher here. To our left is the FBO. Nobody here. Alrighty. Yes, thank you. Yeah, so that does it for today, and next up will be our first oval race of the season here at Texas Motor Speedway. I think 150 laps or so of absolute agony. Hope we'll do well. If not, then that's just gonna be a mulligan. There's hope to be had that we'll do well on the cookie cutter, so hope to see you then. Otherwise, see you on our flight out here from Dallas to Long Beach, Los Angeles, where the next race is going to be. So, hope you enjoyed, and see you later.